For the players.
I'm Ryan Betson.
I'm Max Kipper.
And this is For the Players, the pop culture PlayStation podcast for 40 years of playing PlayStation and 10 plus years in that game's mini combined. I'd like to thank you for joining us in this PlayStation conversation.
This PlayStation conversation happens every Monday morning at 8 a.m. on podcast services, including Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and 9 a.m. on those YouTubes. But if you'd like to take part in future conversations with us, come and check out our socials, Facebook, Discord, Instagram, and Twitter. All of those links can be found in the description below.
If you want to join the conversation as it happens, head over to twitch.tv/thepopculturist, where you can watch us record this show live, where you can jump in the chat and become part of the show. If you want to support the show, you can tell your friends, tell your family about this PlayStation pod. If you are listening on podcast services, be sure to give us a 5-star rating and a written review. If you watch us on YouTube, be sure to like, subscribe, and leave a comment below. I endeavor to answer every single comment. And if you want to support us financially, you can at patreon.com/thepopculturist, as well as our merchandise store, popculturist.com/shop, where you can buy shirts and other assorted shit with our logos on it. In the chat, over on Twitch, the puck's like so early. It is. So for those who do watch us on Twitch, we are recording at 1:30 on a Saturday afternoon, where we normally record at 8 p.m. on a Sunday afternoon. And that's because this guy is working 3 wrestling shows this weekend. So this is the only window of time I had available. Woo. Been busy. Like 1 down, 1 to go tonight, and then 1 to go tomorrow. And what I love, because I was like, Max was like, hey, the one's in Geelong. It's where we live. It's down the road. You should totally come. Fine. Like it's no ring death match, so it's not quite the usual wrestling. It's kind of just a massive bar fight. You should come check it out. Max was like, yeah, I'm gonna get COVID instead, just so I don't have to go to the wrestling with you.
Yeah.
I was having a ripper fucking headache. So it turns out, like, all day yesterday, I drank not much, didn't eat all that much, and I just feel like an inside of an asshole. So that's fun. But yeah, how's COVID life?
Yeah, COVID life is fine. So I was due to go on holidays, on annual leave from work as of Wednesday. Mm-hmm. Tuesday morning, I tested positive to COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I started my annual leave a day early. Which was cool. I've had it pretty mild.
Yeah, because this is the thing. So you were chatting, and you're like, I feel like trash. But my mum, because your mum's down with you at the moment. You're like, my mum's really sick. My kid's sick. My wife's sick. I wonder what it is. I'm like, do you have rat tests? And you're like, I have a couple. I'm like, here's the box of rat tests that I have in my house. Test yourself. Sure enough, everyone in your house got COVID. Yeah. And first time for everyone. What a lovely. I'm glad you could all share it together.
Been dodging that prick for 3 years, and it finally caught up to me.
See, as I said, I'm pretty sure I got it like semi recently, like as in like November, and so I think, I'm just out of my 3 months, so I probably should test myself too, because I do feel like arsehole as well. Do on Monday. I got wrestling shows today. I got to work. I get paid.
So yeah, everyone in my house is sick. I've had the mildest of symptoms. I had a runny nose for a little bit, and that was it. For the last couple of days, I've been feeling pretty okay. I had a dizzy spell yesterday after running around for a bit, but other than that, it's fine. My kid has like this fucking gnarly cough, and she's like a massive snot goblin at the moment.
Yeah, and she's got like that Louis Armstrong level of like husk voice. She sounds like Joey Lauren Adams.
My wife's just sick. Mum's like, I have to call the ambulance for mum, because she at one point she's like full on like shaking, having trouble breathing, had chest pains.
She all vaxxed?
Yeah, 3 shots.
Interesting.
So mum and I were eligible for the beautiful fucking antiviral tabs, so we've been pumping those.
Yeah, because you're immunocompromised, right?
Yeah, so I've got one dose left, 1 tray left. So it's fucking 3 pills in one go in the morning, and then 12 hours later, you knock back another 3 pills. But it's not too bad.
Man, it's gnarly. Like I said, when I had it, it sucked for a couple days, and then it kind of petered off because I was living by myself. It was painful. It was horrible by myself.
Yeah.
It's just like, I felt like I was going insane.
Like, mum was supposed to fly home yesterday. She cancelled her flights because obviously, although there's no mandates for isolation anymore.
Yeah.
She felt so garbage. She's like, I don't want to get on a plane anyway.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, I had it like when in peak peak isolation window. I was like just post let it rip, but you still had to isolate. So I got stuck in the house for like 10 days. It was ball bags.
Yeah, you caught it like just after they're like no more COVID payments.
Yeah. And then it's like, oh, but I could still totally work from home. But your brain is just so caved in.
Yeah, so Ali was the same thing. She obviously works from home. She's like, oh, I can probably still work. No, can't work.
Nah, like I had the thing that came with it was the brain fog for me, right? Like you just can't get a cohesive thought together. So like you know that you're not like you're sick, but you can't do anything. Like, oh, maybe I'll just play games. Like, nope, I had to literally just lay on the couch and just exist. I think I just had YouTube on. I don't remember what I watched. It was just on, and that was it for like 3 days. It was fucked. It's fucked. So with that in mind, though, so had you played any games in your little COVID out?
I have only played one thing, and that was the campaign for Destiny 2 Lightfall.
Yeah, so big shout out to the team at Double Jump Communications for providing Max with a code for the latest expansion of the Destinies. How is it?
Gameplay-wise, great, but the story sucked.
Well, that's the thing that I'm hearing is all this thing about the Veil, but no one knows what the Veil is. And
it has been one of the weakest story expansions. And from what I've seen from rumors circulating online and from leaks and stuff, apparently this is what the final shape was supposed to be. Mm-hmm. And this is kind of now just a filler to give them an extra year to work on the final shape. There's talks that the Strand subclass, which is the new Darkness subclass that comes with Lightfall, was supposed to actually drop last year during the Witch Queen, which would have made sense also.
Yeah, just from a story perspective, does it make more sense if it was?
Yeah, so the story is just super incohesive. It's all over the place. It plays a very big role in you acquiring this Strand subclass and learning to harness its power. You essentially do a fucking training montage at one point. It's not great, and it doesn't explain a lot of things very well either. Now, whether that's part of the fact that Destiny and Bungie have moved to this seasonal storytelling where we're still going to get 4 seasons throughout this year that's going to into the lead up to the final expansion. Are they going to flesh everything out over the course of the year in those 4 seasonal updates? Hopefully. But at the moment, like the cutscenes that were there looked awesome. Some of the gameplay changes have been really cool. The new way that the mod systems work is great. The new way that the seasonal mods work is great. So previously, seasonal mods will contain all your champion-focused mods. So like anti-barrier and all that other stuff. You used to have to equip those mods onto pieces of gear, which would then take away other mods that you could be using. Now all mods that are a part of the seasonal artifact are passive mods. Once you've unlocked them, you've just got them. It doesn't matter. You don't have to equip them. They just work. Okay. So that's, that saves a lot of time for those people who enjoy their build crafting and making all their builds for all their classes. There's now one of the big additions for Lightfall was the fact that you can now make builds and save them. So
that's cool.
So you can hot swap on the go. You don't have to change all your gear every time. So
if you're doing some PvP stuff or you're doing a particular raid, you can go, hey, I want my Vault. The only one I remember, I want my Vault of Glass gear. Go, and then it gives you that.
So now I have my Strand subclass set up, my Arc subclass set up, and I could just swap between them as I need to without having to change everything one by one. You just click one button and everything changes. It changes all my mod setups. It changes all my subclass setups. It's great. fantastic.
Because one of the bit of feedback that I sort of, obviously I don't know a lot about Destiny because I played Destiny 2 at launch and I enjoyed it. It was fine, but like I'm not into it the same way that you were. I as you're sitting here talking about it, I'm like, should I go back? But I know it's just good tight shooting. It was really fun.
Yeah, like the gunplay and the gameplay is still fine.
Yeah.
Neomuna, the new Neptune city that you explore throughout the campaign, is kind of bland. So all throughout the marketing messaging and the trailers, they're like, it's all this verticality. It's great. You're running across rooftops. It's this, it's that. But the rooftops are so bland and bare, and most of the stuff is happening on the ground.
Okay.
So it's this weird, and like the two characters that they introduce you to are introduced very abruptly, and then one of them disappears just as abruptly. It felt like this weird mishmash of just pushing the story along, but also pausing for time.
Well, yeah, because that's just what I was getting before I got distracted by wanting to play Destiny again. Was that this seems very transitional.
Yes.
As in, like, if this was a 3-parter, this is the middle section. Where it's just enough to keep a story going, but it doesn't set up anything. Like, it sets up some things, doesn't really answer any questions. So
I definitely left with more questions than I had answers.
Yeah, so is this one thing, do you think, what's the next one going to be called?
It's called The Final Shape. Is the
Final Shape. Do you believe, like, the Final Shape will, like, this is the prelude to Final Shape?
Yeah. Very much so. Like, obviously, this is the Final Shape is supposed to end their 10-year Destiny.
Has it been 10 years?
Yeah.
Wow.
This is This is the live service game. This is the one.
Holy shit. Well, because I know they had the 10-year plan, but yeah, wow.
10 years of storytelling has led us to this point, and unfortunately, this one kind of just missed the mark.
Well, using that as an example, right? Like, is this in terms of the MCU, is this like the Infinity War to what is going to be Endgame?
Yes, but I don't think it was as good as Infinity War.
No, Infinity War was awesome.
so good. It's one of the.
Infinity War was a great self-contained movie, and then you had more to it.
So
it's like a big 2-part ending, is what I'm getting at.
Yeah,
like the Deathly Hallows, one part 2.
Yeah. The new enemy type, the Tormentors, are kind of cool, but at the same time, such a fucking pain in the ass to deal with. So these are essentially creatures of the Void subclass, and in the since the updates to all the subclasses, Void is now basically suppression. So when you're suppressed, you can't use any of your abilities. So no double jumping, no using your supers, no nothing. And these motherfuckers have, like, if they touch you, you get suppressed. So if you try and jump over them or near them or around them, you just instantly lose your fucking jump and fall like a sack of shit straight down a gap. The amount of times I missed jumps because these pricks just came out of nowhere.
Ew.
Yeah. But again, like, gameplay wise, I'm loving a lot of the changes that they made. Story wise, just wasn't as strong as what I was hoping for. Not as strong as the stories have been in the past, and definitely raised more questions than it gave answers.
So knowing that with these sort of seasonal DLC drops, you get a campaign and you get a raid. Has the raid dropped yet?
No, it drops
a couple days
today.
Oh, very cool.
Think
because I know they tend to give you that little bit of a setup, and then
if not, it's next week.
Yeah.
They usually drop Saturday mornings.
Yeah. So how did the campaign go? Because when we were discussing, you're like, "How I reckon I can get this done in a night?" Because that's kind of normally how it's done.
The campaign's short, so we got to the final boss on the first night, and then finished off on the second night.
Yeah.
8 missions. That's it.
Okay.
You actually get more out of a seasonal content drop, because seasons usually last 8 to 10 weeks.
Yeah.
And you normally get a story mission almost each week. So the raid drops next Friday. 10th of March.
Okay.
But it's fine. So of the 8 missions, a lot of it again is learning how to use that strand, meeting some of the new characters, But yeah, it doesn't really push the overarching story at all. Are you getting the weird
it's
air
the
show?
air show.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, so I'm sitting here and it sounds like there's a thunderstorm or the beginnings of the fucking apocalypse. And then I forget here in Geelong, there's the air show. So I guarantee there's a lot of loud nonsense going. Yeah, that's what it was. It's like, like a low rumble. I'm like, what the fuck? Yeah, that makes total sense.
Yeah, the Strand subclass is kind of gimmicky to a degree. So I've only played the Hunter class at the moment. So their big gimmick is so the new gimmick for Strand is the grappling hook. So you forego grenades for all subclasses, and you just get a grapple hook.
Does that counteract the suppression?
No, because you can't use abilities when you're suppressed. Well, you can't do shit.
That seems like the smart idea there would be like, well, let's counteract.
Well, you could grapple around them. Like you only get suppressed if you get hit. Like it's not horrible.
Oh, okay.
But their hitbox is kind of fucking huge. So a lot of the cool new tech that you can do with the grapple is pretty cool. So for the longest time, there's been a thing called sword skating in Destiny, where if you hit a certain button certain button commands, you can literally just fucking fling yourself into the beyond. Now, if you have someone who doesn't know how to do that or can't do it properly, they can just grapple onto you as you fucking yeet yourself into nothingness.
Oh, that's cool. That's pretty
They've changed some of the sandbox things, so you can't kill yourself anymore by flinging yourself into objects too quickly.
Good to know.
Because you used to, if you stubbed your toe when sword skating, you'd instantly die. So that used to be annoying.
If we learn anything from Star Wars: The Last Jedi, if you just go really fast into something, it just obliterates it, which is cool. Yeah. But yeah, it makes sense why if you're doing that as a person and you stub your toe, your fucking whole body.
So there's like a lot of videos online at the moment of like teams of 3 all grappling onto each other at once and just fucking spinning around in circles. So yeah, it'll be cool to see how Strand plays out in old content, knowing that you can just, because there's no designated grapple points, you can just fucking grapple.
You can straight up Spider-Man it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
So it'll be interesting to see what encounters it breaks and what things I'll have to look into afterwards.
Very cool.
But yeah, again, the moment-to-moment gameplay is still fucking tight. It's still one of the best shooters around.
It is.
But storytelling-wise, this one was just not as strong as they have been in the past, unfortunately.
But once again, if it's setting up for something bigger,
it
would make sense why they've not swung for the fences. But it doesn't, then you also have to be aware that what are you doing?
Yeah, for sure.
They better bring whatever's next quick then.
Yeah. Other than that, I haven't been in the mood to play anything with COVID. I haven't put any more time in Octopath. The thought of all that reading, just didn't gel with me. I played a few rounds of DMZ, but that's about it. Yeah. Most of my time this week was Destiny 2.
Yeah. So literally most of my time this week on the console was playing more Mincraft with my son. As that he's been really digging that as of late. So we spent a couple of hours each night this week from Monday through to Sunday through to. We recorded Sunday, so Monday through to Thursday, we did a couple hours each night, and it's really cool. We have kind of goals. It might be like, hey, let's go explore, let's go find a cave, let's go. On the other night, I'm like, what do you want to do? He's like, let's go find cows. So all right, so we because I made a little farm on an off time when he went to bed. I started building some things just to sort of make it easier to play. Or the little beginnings of something, so then he knows how to he can go tend to that farm, get the hay, replant, and then go, rather than having to learn that original step, he can grab on it from step 2 and 3. So we go, let's go get some hay. So we pull up the hay, we replant the seeds, and then we just started exploring. We grabbed some maps, went exploring, found some cows, and we'd bring them back to the place, chuck them in this little pen that I built. Then we'd go out, come back, go out, come back. And for him, that was an absolute blast. And then we built this little house that was just originally made out of dirt. So then we because back in my day on the Minecraft, there wasn't so many variants in stone. It was cobblestone or nothing. But now there's like cobblestone and antonite and bedampatite and upatambitite and like all these variants. I'm like, what the fuck is all these? Why? When I'm digging, I'm getting this weird shit that I don't know what it is. And like, there's copper now, which is cool. I have so much copper. What can it do? Fucked if I know. What am I looking for? Iron. Just so I can mine shit better. I cannot find it in the seed that I'm in. I don't know, because like previously, like there used to only ever be like a couple layers down. Like you didn't have to like go so intently to find them. I've found like 7 blocks of iron lately.
Yeah, depending on which biome you're in, they've changed the way that it spawns.
Yeah.
So if you're in like mountainous terrain, iron's like fucking super high up to the top of the mountain, or super low down where diamond is.
Yeah.
You can find iron. But if you're in like a fucking grassland, good luck.
Yeah. Yeah, we're in like this kind of rocky, sort of mountainous, rocky, sort of middle plains meets rocky area, and yeah, it's fine. Like we went because we're right near a shore, so we built some boats, went off and visited some islands. James did learn a lesson though, a hard lesson. It was nighttime and we were heading back to our boats to go back to our place because he kind of wandered off. I'm like, hey bud, where you going? He's like, I'm just looking over here. I'm like, yeah, no worries. Did not go well. Got jumped by like six zombies, included some creepers as well. So all I see is exploded by a creeper. I was like, uh-oh. And he's just distraught because he was like lost, and I was trying to. I'm like, where are you, bud? I'll try to find you. So I'm trying to find him, so he's already kind of panicking because he's lost, and then he dies. He was super upset, and then we went back, and then we tried to find his stuff, and because he just couldn't recall where he was because he got all worked up, we looked around and we just couldn't find it. So instead, nice. we're having a learning experience, but we're going to have a dedicated chest, which has just got stuff that we take on adventures. And then when we go in there, we drop off the stuff we don't want, what are things we cannot lose? Because he just like would keep everything on him, right? And like, all right, what are things we can't lose? This is our adventure box. When we go on adventure, this is what we have. And he's like, yeah, no, cool. So I'm going to go and build some swords and stuff and just leave them in there for him. So that way, if he dies, he knows where his stuff is. But yeah, no, it's been a lot of fun. Because like I said, I haven't played Minecraft since literally when it launched into 1.0. Like there is so much more now. There's like underwater zombies. There's underwater ruins. There's llamas. There's villages. There's villages that are fucking bad, that throw potions at you. There's bullfrogs. There's dolphins. There's like, and I said like 1,000 variants of trees, and just there is so much more than I remember. And it's actually been a lot of fun in terms of I'm exploring Minecraft again for the first time, and my 6-year-old, like, he is experiencing it for the first time. So he and I are kind of finding things organically, going, oh man, isn't this really cool? And it's a great bonding experience. So, as I've talked about on here before, like my ex-wife and I, we separated in November of 2021. And we live in separate houses. My son lives with his mum primarily. I don't get to see him all that often. But we've been very lucky that our relationship, my ex-wife and I, is actually better now than it ever has been, because I'm like a poison. The less the less of me, you're probably doing fine. So we've been able to build this good relationship where I can still video call my son every day. He can call me whenever he wants, and she just goes, yeah, cool, no worries, yeah, go play Minecraft with your dad for a couple of hours. It's fine, go ahead. Like, there's none of that, like, resistance or prevention. It's been lovely. Like, it's as close as I can get to seeing him every day without seeing him every day, because I can't. And just getting to hear his voice and hear how excited he is, and just, like, he's there's just joy in just sharing it with me. Even where he's going and finding stuff, and he's just like, hey daddy, I made you something, and it's like a wooden shovel. I don't fucking need a wooden shovel, but for him, he's like, I've made this and it's for you. And that's massive. It's been so fucking cool. I'll probably talk more about Minecraft over the coming weeks, just because I don't know, it's what I'm playing at the moment, and it's things in my head aren't always that brilliant, and I don't have a lot of joy at the moment. But I am getting some good feelings out of playing Minecraft with my kids. So it's a big win.
I remember last time because we usually jump back into Minecraft when there's a big update, and we'll play for a couple of weeks. Last time we played, there was a group of like 8 of us. We're all just shared lobby, shared world, because one of us tends to pony up and will pay for like the world, so anyone can get on at any time. You don't have to have the host online. And
the realms, yeah,
the realms, yeah. And then
also big thank you to Marcy 2Y62 for the follow. It
would just entail 6 people just building cool bases, building cool shit, and then me and Zill would be out in the middle of the ocean just fishing.
Yeah,
that's all we do. We just fish when we play Minecraft now.
That's what my ex-wife and James were doing. They James worked out there was a fishing rod because he fucked around in creative, but he and I play in survival. He just literally was just the 2 of them just fished for hours.
You can get the best loot from fishing.
Yeah.
Never have to leave your base. Just fish. You're always safe.
And there's variant fish there. But remember, it was just fish. Now there's cod and salmon and do they do anything different, or is it just to build out the world? I don't know. One thing I have also done though, and it's probably the only other thing that I've really played this week, apart from more Hogwarts Legacy. I played more Hogwarts Legacy. I'm past Trial 2 now, and I was kind of meh about having to go back and finish the trial just because I wanted to fuck around in the world, and I just didn't want to think about the trials. Just let me just play in the fucking world. The trials are cool. Don't get me wrong, they're very cool. I just want to go explore. But yes, we've done that. Past Trial 2 now, and now I'm just back to fuck assing around in the world. And with the PSVR 2 out, I did jump a little bit more into some things. Played some more Townsman VR. That game continues to be awesome. I fucking love Townsman VR. It's like playing with a little model kit. It's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. But then there was also Resident Evil Village. So I went back to Resident Evil Village and I played some more. So I played through pretty much the whole introduction area, where up until you get confronted with those werewolves for the first time. And then you beat the big encounter. The big hunkin' motherfucker comes out, goes, bah, yells in your face. You see an old lady, whatever. So play that whole section through, and it's quite intense. There's a lot happening. You're getting bum rushed in every possible way. So having all the extra VR-ness, including having to reload your gun and pull the clip out, and and then load the shotgun manually, and take a fucking potion out and drink it or whatever. It does make that more intense because there's a lot more work you have to do to just achieve the simple task you would have done before. So the idea of just quickly ducking around a corner, pressing square to reload and then go back into it, it just adds a little bit more. So it does add this really frantic nature to it. Now, impressively, as I'm running around being spammed by these werewolves, knowing full well I just have to survive. I know I'm not going to have enough ammo to kill everyone. I know the sequence because I've played the game before. That was fine. It was fucked. And having them get up all in your face, it's gnarly, right?
Just before you get too deep into it, because obviously I fucked up when I was playing VR 2 for Resident Evil. Is it just thumbstick movement, or is it what's the movement scheme for Resident?
It's thumbstick or hop. But you can move around in the space, and you will move in that 3D space, which is great. But if you want to move, you can't just obviously. You have to use the stick to move to where you want to go. If you're in that square, you can duck, weave, whatever you need. But you still got to use the stick to. It's actually not too bad. It does the what's the word I'm looking for? The vignette. That's not the word I'm looking for. Where it kind of closes the iris.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah. So it kind of blacks the outside of the screen as you move forward to prevent that wanting to vomit, which is cool. It's really good. It's really fine. But what was interesting is cutscenes, right? So cutscenes, they don't reshape it for you in VR. You can look freely around in said cutscene, but in the opening cinematic, when the house gets bombarded by Chris Redfield, you get thrown on your ass, on your back, and you're looking forward. But the game doesn't have you lying on your back looking up. it has you as if you're looking forward. So here is the floor, and then there's my face. I'm just like, so it's really disorientating, actually. Where you think if they were going to rebuild it, like actually have it in such a way that, you know,
that would I think
shifts.
Doing that would like fuck with you.
It probably would a little bit. I'm sure there's a reason behind it, and obviously it's cutscenes, right? Like they're not, because this isn't a ground up VR game. Like they're just repurposing a game into VR. So I understand why they wouldn't, like the cutscenes probably too much work to mess with. But this is the thing. I did that entire encounter, ducking, weaving, whatever, shooting, not a single bit of uneasiness in my guts. The end of that encounter, for some reason, all the big werewolf vibes rock up, blah, 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 look over, behind me, there's the old lady. I go, oh yeah, cool. And then the second that scene enters, the guy stands up, and then, I don't know what it is, my insides just went, whoop, like they turned in and of themselves. And it was like, if I don't take this headset off right now, I'm going to exorcist vomit. So like, I fucking threw the headphones off, I took the thing off, and I had to like, it was one of those like, oh God. And then I laid down, I just laid down for a moment. I'm like, I think I'm going to die. It was insane. And like, only one other time have I had that level of like needing to, fighting the urge to vomit and that was from Rigs on PSVR 1. It was brutal. And it was like, I can't play for the rest of the day now. I'm done. It was like vertigo. Like I went to bed and I went and had a shower. So I'm like, oh, maybe this will fucking resend to me. It did a little bit, but then as I got out of the shower, I was just like, oh man. It felt like brutal seasickness. It's like, when you go, like, the example that Phoebe, my partner, was using because she was watching me. She goes, it sounds like you're experiencing, when you go out on a boat and everything's all rocky and you adjust to the boat, but then you get back on land but you still have that fucked sort of sense of the world. And it's probably the apt explanation for it, because it was like, and like, I would like to play some more VR today, but I said, I didn't eat properly yesterday. Didn't drink enough water. I didn't get home till like 1:30 this morning. I'm fucked and my brain hurts. And I'm full of pills and like just trying to not feel pain. So the idea of going to VR would be a bad decision today, but I do want to play more of it because knowing that we have it and we spent a lot of money on it.
I'm keen to get hands on with it more, but I've just been not in the mood and sick as a dog.
Yeah, once you get your post-COVIDs, it's probably you can put the headset back on, not from a COVID spreading standpoint, which is a good consideration, but like you are going to be disoriented. If off COVID anything was like mine, it will fuck you for a little while, like dead set. Just like like even just like breathing was hard for me for a while. Existing was weird. But outside of that, I've given up on Atomic Heart. I've just deleted it. I'm like, nope. Can't do it. I literally cannot do it. Like, I feel bad. Obviously, it's being their first game. I'm like, oh, I want to give Munfish a run. And look, 5-Star Games, they gave us a review code as well. So shout out to them. We haven't worked with them in a while. And they gave us a code. And I was like, oh, cool. This is great. And then I'm like, oh, no. I'm going to have to absolutely rip on this game. And we don't change our reviews or our opinions or what we talk about a game because we received a code.
I missed the start. Are we talking about fucking Comrade Major?
Yeah. Yes, we don't, go, oh, this game's really great in order for the benefit of a review code. We've been very lucky. We've been doing this long enough that fucking...
Man, I was so hyped for that game.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I'm just like, oh man, I don't have to shit on this game. But like I said, there's a difference between shitting on it and fair critique. And I would like to think what we delivered was relatively fair critique. It's a game where the world looks incredibly beautiful, but just like High on Life, which also sucks, the game just doesn't stop talking. And what it says is shit. It's like, everyone thinks Forspoken was bad. You play this. Because Forspoken... It was acted well. Like, the actor in this isn't very good. The voice acting is bad. It's very similar in concept of them yelling at a glove, which is bad. It's written like an edgy 12-year-old. It's fucking bad.
It's also very monotonous as well.
Yeah, and like the world itself isn't good enough to like, in terms of like the world is very visual, very pretty. Like they've really as we discussed last week, they were clearly wearing their BioShock influence on their sleeve. And that's awesome because it's allowed for a really cool looking world. But the gameplay isn't very good. And then the acting isn't very good either. And I don't want to go about that fucking over-sexualized vending machine again. But it's just not a good game. Like, I'm sorry. And, like, all power to them for being their first game. I've never made a game in my fucking life. However, let's just hope whatever they do next is better.
Yeah, but for sure.
Other than that, I haven't think I've played anything else. It's been pretty low-key week. Other than that. We've got in the chat. So MGB... what's going on, has jumped in and goes, Resi in VR makes it more terrifying, and it does make it more amazing. It does make it instantly more terrifying, especially that opening scene, right? Like when you crash, when the car crashes and you're in the snow. This is the thing. So with the increased resolution of the PSVR 2 headset, that darkness looks awesome. Like, because it's an OLED screen as well from memory, where the other one was an LCD, so blacks look great. And one of the problems with Resident Evil 7 in VR1 was the low resolution screen really made checkerboarding, not checkerboarding, the screen door effect look substantially more obvious. And especially in low light, it was like, oof. But we're here, it's got a little bit of crappiness to it. Like, okay, cool. But like, it's like crappiness in terms of, it's not sharp. It's not as sharp as if I was not playing in VR. But it looks really good. Like, and then when you sort of get into the village and you look at the scale of the buildings, and you know, if once you find that like bang on spot in the headset, it looks as sharp as it can be. Like the 3D world is really, really cool. Once again, not as good as playing it not in VR, but really good. I quite like it. I haven't gone back to Horizon. I just not feeling it, but which is also quite a bummer. But MGB, is it like how the cutscenes worked with Resident Evil 7 in VR1? I assume so. I haven't played Resident Evil 7 VR since it launched, because in pre-launch I played it at various expos, but I don't recall. But the difference with VR with Resident Evil 7 versus 8 is that you played with a DualShock. You literally you couldn't do the two-hand things. So the engagement was kind of the same. You could play the game safely sitting down, and it wouldn't have been a problem. So the idea of then being upstanding, but having the floor here, didn't seem as jarring. Yeah, there's that. All right, that's enough of what we've been playing. Let's get into a section we call Inform the Players. We tell you about what happened this week in PlayStation. And it's been a little while since we've talked about this, Max. Now, kind of out of choice, but kind of out of everything's been a little bit of a holding pattern. But we do have some more around the Activision Blizzard acquisition with Microsoft.
Yeah, it's time for Sony to put their cards on the table, apparently.
Got to spill the beans.
So recently, the North America's FTC has made clear its reservations about the deal, summoning Microsoft to court in order to hear why their deal should be allowed and how it will not damage competition. Sony, which has been completely against the acquisition from the start, has been issued a subpoena by Microsoft requesting their presence at the hearing and certain documentation and information that may be pertinent to its case. Now, it's come out that Sony has made several appeals to restrict what information it could need to submit to court. Some of these requests were granted by the FTC, but most were denied. In a nutshell, Sony must submit details of all content licensing agreements, broadly exclusivity contracts from January 2019 onwards. Originally, they wanted them from 2013 onwards. Okay. Jim Ryan's declaration about the acquisition to the FTC, including all drafts and custodial records from January 2019 onwards. Obviously, Sony has had many agreements with third parties in which some or all content in a game is exclusive to PlayStation. Initially, Microsoft's request was for contracts dating back to 2012. Sony tried to withhold this information altogether, suggesting it wouldn't be relevant to the case, and that it required digging through more than 150,000 contracts with over 60,000 different companies.
Well, let's touch on that. I know you've got something else pulled up there, but let's touch on this first. So, I see what they're going for here. Is they're essentially saying, hey, because there was a report somewhere, and I don't know whether it's nothing that you're about to mention, where Microsoft essentially were like, hey, PlayStation has an 80% market share. We're fucked. Right? Which is, how is that helping your case? Jesus Christ. It's like, you're shitting on yourself so hard. Like, okay. Once again, it's that bigger conversation of, well, you shouldn't have to just buy your way into something. Just be better at what you fucking do. But what's interesting here is I understand what they're trying to do. They're trying to demonstrate that, like, you know, Sony's shitting on exclusivity here, but what they're showing is this is what our exclusivity contracts are. Now, most of them would be like yeah, they can share their first party exclusive, but it doesn't matter because it's theirs. What they're looking for here is exclusive contracts external to PlayStation first parties, I assume. So that we're looking at what the deals with Square Enix are. We're looking at what else? What are some strong second party exclusives of recent years?
Well,
even Activision with its that mode that was exclusive for a window of time.
Yeah, they'll have in here their contracts from Bethesda for
Deathloop and Ghostwire.
And Ghostwire. It'll have Sony's had a lot of, and like it's not just for exclusive, like console exclusivity. It was also for anything that was exclusive on the like it wasn't just exclusive titles, but exclusive content for titles as well. So like the likes of Call of Duty and
the Hogwarts
Legacy has extra content for PlayStation and all of this other stuff. So it'll be very interesting to see what comes out of this, because obviously, yeah, like you said, Sony the whole time is like exclusives are bad, but they apparently have 150,000 exclusivity documents with 60,000 companies. Like, they're obviously exclusivity is only bad.
Yeah, over a 10, 12, 11 year period, most definitely. That's a lot. It's a lot. But do you think, okay, this is the thing as well. So if it's from 2019 onwards, that means we're going to see deals that are relevant right now. So do you think we're going to see, because like I assume at some point in time, a lot of this will go public. Do you think
if any of this leaks, we're going to find out a lot of shit that's coming to PlayStation in the next few years?
Yeah,
I think it'll actually be really bad for Sony if this somehow leaks and we find out what their lineup's going to be.
Yeah,
because we're going to see the likes of Final Fantasy, both 16 and 7 remakes. We're going to see the likes of what else is in the works?
Yeah, there was like that the game about the astronaut. What was it? Fucking was it on State of Play a bajillion years ago? Look, there's a lot.
Yeah,
and then that's the thing. It's like what will it show? There will be games we don't even know about yet, I presume, right? There will be DLC or extras, like I presume, like I think there's 60,000 whatever. It also includes marketing contracts, right? So where Sony has exclusivity around the marketing, like which they had for Call of Duty for a couple of years, but then Microsoft had that before as well. So I do wonder. Like, I think by going back 10 years, they wanted to establish a very particular they wanted to demonstrate the PlayStation has a pattern. And that pattern is that they're better at their job than Microsoft is the short answer. But what's the other article that you got there? Because in the pre-show, you said, hey, I've pulled this up, so I want to get something out of you.
The other article is, honey, you need to hop out, please. Daddy's not finished yet. Thank you.
Oh, I had to.
What's the saying? Yeah, so the other report is according to reports, the European Union, which is the other trade commission that's looking into this, will apparently not object to Microsoft's buyout deal for Activision Blizzard. And that's based on the recent deals that Microsoft have made with both Nvidia and Nintendo to release Call of Duty on their services, both Nvidia's GeForce Now and Nintendo. Do you think that if this is the case and both trade commissions do go, if you're putting these trade deals in place and you're not locking things out, that's fine, you can buy them out. Do you think this is going to turn around and bite Sony in the ass because they've offered the same deal to Sony and Sony have said no?
And I think that yes.
Do you think that's going to be like, well, everyone else was willing to play ball to begin with. We offered them minimum 10 years off the bat before the deal even closed. We're like, this is what we're going to give you for at least this long. You know, this can be renegotiated down the track. Nintendo have said yes, GeForce have said yes, Steam have said yes. You're the only ones holding out, and now you've missed your shot, and we're not going to do it for you.
Most definitely, and that's a risk that's been running through this entire time, right? If they choose to play hardball, and if it backfires, then you're fucked. And like that's the downside of going that play hard route. And it's something that I'd certainly considered as well, because at any point they could choose to pull that, and then Sony would be out and done. However, I'm in a position where I still don't think this will go ahead. Now, my percentages have changed, etc., around like how I think it will go. Because just like our lovely new follower, Marcy62 has added, lol, COD on Nintendo, that's disgusting. And it is. Because it'll run like bumhole. And however, one thing we've learned about the Switch in general is that no one gives a flying shit whether something runs good or bad, because they just like to play on the Switch. Like, how many games run at sub PS3 level quality on the Switch? Everyone's like, isn't this amazing? Like, not really. But once again, Call of Duty Mobile moves gangbusters, right? Tons of players, tons of money coming in. They could essentially just port COD Mobile to the Switch, and that meets their minimum requirement for this deal. Now, I do believe that this agreement with Microsoft to Nintendo is disingenuous in and of itself. Like, it's trying to create the perception of this, right? And because knowing full well Activision have tried to release Call of Duties, etc., on Nintendo platforms previously, and they didn't sell well or they underperformed. So they stopped doing it. Like, there's a reason they stopped doing it. And like, the idea is that this is it was so unfinancially advisable for them to do it previously. Why would they do that now? Like, apart from just create this disingenuous belief that they're going to do these things. Additionally, there was something else that came out recently that went essentially like, hey, Microsoft were like, hey, here's a bunch of games, exclusive games that we have put onto PlayStation platforms. That said, it was like 30-something games in the last number of years. Now, that is also a fucking disingenuous statement, because the games that they are referencing are games from studios that they purchased, and all these games were prior to their purchase. So claiming them as exclusive games that they've provided out of the kindness of their hearts is a fucking lie. Period. Like, if they want to count Psychonauts 2, well, you're wrong. If they want to count Elder Scrolls, they're wrong. Fallout, wrong. The Outer Wilds, wrong. Like, they're like Obsidian, Double Fine, what's the other one? Fucking Bethesda. Like, if they want to try claim that this is what they have done, then they're fucking lying. Period. Right? Now, PlayStation in themselves, they have lied extensively through this as well. In the same idea, exclusivity is bad except for when we do it. But you and I have long-term have discussed and agreed that a second-party exclusive deal is better than buying out the entire studio. Like, it just means this one example is exclusive. Right? And that happens common, right? You think about food stores, right? McDonald's sell Coke. They don't sell Pepsi. KFC sells Pepsi. They don't do Coke. So it's like, you go there, you're like, hey, I want a drink. This is just, that is the art of business, right? That is the market, which I hate capitalism most of the time. Like, I love it because it benefits, allows us to do cool shit, but in its essence, I kind of hate it. But that's the downside of what this industry what that delivers. And part of that is delivering this. That's it. Like, it's as simple as that. And like, so if that's the case, if Microsoft are going to make that statement, then they go, okay, well, you give us a version of Game Pass on the PlayStation that has just your exclusives, which includes Halo and Gears and Forza and Crackdown, if for some reason, if you want to play it. But you know what I mean? Like, that is the answer. Like, give us Redfall. Give us Starfield. They're not going to. And even recently, Phil Spencer come out going, whoa. Starfield, like Bethesda never announced what platform Starfield was coming to. It was only technically assumed that it was coming to PlayStation. They didn't announce Xbox either, mate. You know what I mean? So, like, technically, it wasn't coming to Xbox either, if you want it to be that dirty. And we knew of rumbles of a conversation between Bethesda and PlayStation to bring Starfield to PlayStation. I don't think it was exclusive from memory, but, like, there was a conversation about putting it there, right? So I understand it's and we've discussed this before, it's two different business peoples talking business, trying to use the power of language to abscond, and what's what I'm looking for, to sort of like bend the truth, right? To sort of, hide the exactly what it is. Because the honest answer is clear as day. It's right there. And yeah, both sides are choosing to obfuscate, that's the word I wanted, obfuscate that truth to best sell their narrative, right? And like, statistics are amazing. Statistics can be used to prove whatever you want, depending on how you look at it, or the variables at which you add to channel down that statistics, right? And once again, like that 80-20 split they talk about, PlayStation have an 80% market. Okay. That doesn't mean you should buy shit. That means you need to be fucking better. It's one of those things where if you're losing, you don't go, well, I'm going to buy all the biggest I'm going to buy one of the biggest things that I can because I literally cannot make it in-house. What is that like? For me, this whole approach that they have, it just makes me worried for whatever comes next. Because once again, there are many studios that were purchased back in 2018, 2019, that haven't done anything yet. Now, I understand there's a short window of time and a lot of them had just released titles, so they're probably still in production. But when you have things like Obsidian, they released, Grounded, which would have been in development beforehand. Hi-Fi Rush from Tango Gameworks, once again, not released since acquisition from Microsoft, not developed during the time of that ownership. As of right now, many, if not almost all, the studios that Microsoft has acquired hasn't released anything solely under the brand of Microsoft. So Xbox themselves haven't released one thing, two things at best. Halo Infinite is the big one. They released nothing last year, and if this year, if they didn't have Starfield or Redfall up their sleeve, they would have literally nothing. That is not a fault of acquisitions. That is not the fault of Sony being a bigger player in the field. That is a response of poor business management. Period. Like, they have all these studios under their belt and they can't do dick. PlayStation have 12, 15 studios under there, which is still a lot, and look at what they continue to do and release. This has nothing to do with this being a PlayStation show or from a fan, a standpoint. Like, we're not here being all biased. You look at it objectively. Every year, for a large number of years, PlayStation has continued to have released a game that is considered a Game of the Year worthy title. Xbox has not, and they have not for many years. Probably the last Game of the Year nodded release that they had done would be like Halo 3, maybe. I know I'm being intentionally petty there, but there's got to be something in between, right? Right? It's absolutely insane. Before I jump into the chat, is there anything that you want to add to that? Because it's ran it pretty hard. Did you get what you wanted out of me from that article?
I figured, yeah. That's exactly I got. Exactly what I thought I was going to get.
Cool. So in the chat, let's see. MGB goes, although just Call of Duty on Switch, what about their other IPs? The whole discussion around this has diminished.
No one gives a shit about any other IP except for Call of Duty.
Yeah, which is a bummer.
That is what this whole thing is about.
Yeah. But the advantage is if this doesn't go through, then all those other IPs are there, and they're right on the cusp. Apparently, anywhere between now and June, if this is that window of time.
This hearing isn't set up until the 2nd of August.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of we're getting to that point now where Microsoft's going to have to fork out like $3 billion or something if this doesn't go ahead. Like, we're at that point now where it's like, it's going to go bad. Marcy also adds, yeah, I did forget about that. I was more thinking of my OLED Switch and the likes of Witcher 3, etc., and it's just horrible. The Switch is good at Switch games. I find console ports generally aren't great because when the Switch released, it was underpowered. It was behind, and as we've continued to progress, it's still behind. Like, there's been, we're in the high-powered console generation now, where 4K 60s starting to become the standard. You can't do 1080 60 on the Switch unless it's a first party game. And okay, cool. But what? We're at the point with the Wii, almost like the Wii U, where the Wii U literally just did not get third-party support because why? Why would they do it? It was underpowered. No one wanted to play it there. Let's see what else we got. So Crimson, what's up, Crimson? Also adds, in my opinion, Microsoft are underutilizing their currently acquired studios. Correct. Now, whether it's underutilizing because they don't know how to manage them or whatever, or they're just being consciously aware that they're not doing it. We don't know, but it's not going well. Marshall said, let Microsoft have Call of Duty and hear me out on this. Sony does a deal with EA and we get Battlefield 5 meets Killzone with God of War Ragnarok polished under the Sony banner. That would be cool. However, it's one of those things where Call of Duty is the standard. Well, it's the standard, quote unquote, in terms of numbers, right? Call of Duty has also been pretty shit the last decade. Previously, they used to be the leaders in the market. Everyone would want to be Call of Duty. These days, Call of Duty is trying to pick up from everybody else. They jumped on the Battle Royale bandwagon. They've now pulled in Escape from Tarkov into DMZ. They tried to do those conquest modes at Battlefield. They are now literally pulling from everyone else where they used to be the standard. But that's a well-earned critique. However, they still sell the most. Battlefield is not admittedly, EA and DICE, Battlefield's rough. It's very rough, and it's going to take a lot for it to get to that point. Now, I would mention, meets Killzone. Why doesn't PlayStation just bring Killzone back, or SOCOM, or Resistance? There's a handful of really good first-person titles that would benefit from a return. But whether it's just that PlayStation or the studios that they have just don't know how to do it properly. Or they don't know how to do it well, I should say. PlayStation does have a very particular style that they like to work, and it's the third-person over-the-shoulder action-adventure sad dad, which is great. For me, I'm a sad dad. I love sad dad stories. I love action-adventure narrative-driven games. Win for me. But, that's not everyone. But yeah, the problem is they should have done it in-house. They didn't. They instead chose to focus on an external, which always had risk. And now that risk is blowing back up in PlayStation's face. Yeah. What's next? All right. Sony and the King, says Max. Sony has announced a collaboration with NBA athlete and multiverse character. It's important to point that out, I suppose, Max. LeBron James, revealing a unique set of limited edition accessories for the PS5. Designed by LeBron James himself, you'll soon be able to buy a matching DualSense controller and PS5 cover. They sport colorful graffiti-like designs and symbols on a black backdrop. The controller and console cover...
Not going to lie, I kind of want the controller.
Oh, I'll have to have a look. The controller and console cover will be available to pre-order via PlayStation's Direct Online in the US. And unfortunately, there is no mention of date, price, or anything happening outside of America. The unusual announcement kicks off what is this new initiative called PlayStation Playmakers. It's essentially a selection of pop culture or, well-known figures and influencers across various trades and disciplines that will effectively be ambassadors for the brands. LeBron James is just one of them, including having others include country singer Jimmy Allen, woo, comedian and actor King Buck, pro BMX athlete Nigel Sylvester, and more. So essentially, they're returning to that celebrity marketing, which PlayStation had previously, and they stepped away from because it doesn't work. Like, what, you know, in the world of influencer marketing that we have right now and content creators, people that...
So some of these playmakers are content creators.
Yeah.
Are YouTubers, are content creators, Twitch people. Some of them are, as we mentioned, like pro athletes, stuff like that, singers, comedians. So there's a fairly wide variety. Yeah. But yeah, nothing much has come out of it yet.
Yeah. Admittedly, and I did see this criticism on Twitter, and I went, that's actually... that's an interesting way to look at it, is the idea of like, oh, well, now we know who's being paid off by PlayStation to essentially do marketing. That's a very good point, because, there's always this greater conversation around, YouTubers and content creators, whichever, and their connections to brands, where they're being paid to market, paid to influence. And like, I know what happens here in Australia. Like, PlayStation Australia have sponsored the likes of Hex and Barjo, previously Good Game hosts, as well as, now streamers and, very prominent people in the space. They market their stuff because they do a lot of stuff for PlayStation Plus, etc., as an example. And this makes it clear as day. In the same way that 2K has their Next Makers, which is a great way to show, hey, this person is endorsed by the brand, but also, they're probably going to talk positive about the brand because they're working in some sort of a competitive, like some deal. Like where we sit, now, granted, we work with PlayStation Australia. We've worked with numerous publishers and developers, etc., around this country. But we're not involved in any of those agreed marketing things. So we're not paid by PlayStation in any way. We receive review codes just like many other media outlets. Actually, we're yet to ever be paid to do anything. And if it was possible, I'd probably take the deal because I like money. We need money. I'm a single dad. Money would be nice. But in terms of the ethics of it, yeah, it's totally a good point. But yeah, for me, celebrity marketing doesn't always work. But I know very well that I am not the average person. Even though my neurodiversity is really, really open to marketing, I can be persuaded and influenced really easy. But because I don't follow a lot of sports, LeBron James, I don't care. I like specific comedians, okay, don't care. I'm not into, country music, whichever. But there's very few high-level celebrities that would make me buy something. If they're like, hey, Chris Pratt endorses this, I'm like, don't care. It just doesn't work on me in that way. I'm someone that really responds well to, and knowingly responds well to that, the podcasters, the content, like the YouTubers that.
Did you not see Kevin Smith's PS5 controller?
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah. All right. QUICKBITS.
Yes.
Capcom Spotlight set to appear March 9th for news on Resident Evil 4, Exo Primal, Monster Hunter Rise, Mega Man's Legacy Collection, and Ghost Trick Phantom Detective. God of War has received 15 nominations for BAFTA awards, making it the highest ever nominated PlayStation game at the BAFTAs.
Good. No Elden Ring?
Oh yeah, Elden Ring's in there.
Fuck. Well, Elden
Ring's
getting deal. I don't want to put it on the list. Oh, you did.
Oh, it's on the list. That's on the list. God of War has the Division 2 problems have finally been fixed, and Reign of Fire has launched.
Cool.
I think we discussed this about 4 weeks ago when the localization.
When season 11 got pushed. Yeah.
50 Cent has teased something related to GTA Vice City. Quote, "I will explain this later. This shit bigger than power. Trust me." Over on his Instagram.
50.
So 50
Why is
Cent
50 getting involved in Vice City? His prominence was in the early 2000s. It had nothing to do with the 80s.
Square Enix president Yosuke Matsuda is set to step down this year. So that'll be interesting.
Which is interesting. Once again,
I think he's been president for 10 years or something.
Oh yeah. But I'm sure this will only add to the will PlayStation buy Square.
And then, of course, as you alluded to before, Elden Ring DLC has been confirmed with Shadow of the Erd Tree with no fucking information given
I have no
whatsoever.
idea what that means.
Just we're working on it.
Is that alone, that little teaser?
Yeah, it's
to get
enough.
me
That's enough.
excited?
That's enough. To know that there's more coming. That's enough.
Cool. Gross. I can't like it. I'm sorry, Max. Sorry, Max. But here are the games that are coming out this week to your PlayStation. We've got The Outer Worlds, the Space's Choice Edition for PS5, which I presume is a port of the PS4 version with all DLC. Fatal Frame, Mask of the Lunar Eclipse is coming to PS5 and PS4 for March 9th. Before Your Eyes is coming to PS5 and PSVR 2 on March the 10th. And Matto Anomalies is coming to PS5 and PS4 on March the 10th.
Just to comment on what Crimson's put in the chat.
What
was that rumor about PlayStation looking to purchase Take-Two?
Oh, that's not happening.
The only thing I can find is some dude tweeting, have it on extremely good word that if Microsoft acquires Activision Blizzard, Sony's going to go after Take-Two to counter it. 3 of my trusted and almost always correct sources confirms.
Look, this is like this has been around before. Like the rumor, I remember was a while ago. Because Square Enix has always been on that list. Kojima was on that list.
Isn't Take-Two worth like fucking bajillion dollars?
And like Take-Two, they're not selling. They are not selling. Sony does not have the liquid cash to pay for that deal. Period.
Take-Two probably have enough cash to buy Sony just from fucking GTA Online.
If they wanted to, they could just do that. It won't happen. There is a possibility that they could buy Square essentially. And if we look at all the movements that Square has done and the decisions that they've made in recent history, it does look like they're trying to lessen up to make it easier for a sell or to be sold by someone. Yeah, and there's a couple other names popped up as well. I think Ready at Dawn was there as well, but they ended up getting picked up by somebody else. Yeah, it's a tough one. Are you Googleizing if there's any more about this?
That's all I could find.
Bummer.
Just letting Ali know we're about to wrap up.
Yeah, cool.
Square for $2.
Yeah, if Sony MGB asked if Sony was to fuck Microsoft, they'd just be buying something small, but fuck with Able like WWE. Because like with Take-Two comes 2K, and it comes with it used to be Gearbox, but Gearbox I think are owned by Embracer Group now. There's a lot that comes with Take-Two, and it's just not enough money. Like no one has enough money to that. Like no one. Period.
Yeah, Take-Two have 2K, Private Division, Rockstar.
Private Division, that's the other one. Yeah.
Zynga.
Yeah, Zynga alone. But even then, like to go back to that thing, because one of the things that Phil Spencer has said, and Mark have attempted to say near on everything to make the deal go through. Even like, it's not about Call of Duty, it's about King. We don't have a footprint in mobile. Okay, we'll just buy King. No. All right, like no, it's not about mobile. It's not about we want to get behind Blizzard. Just buy Blizzard. No. You know what I mean? Like it's both just as fucked. Yeah. It's a horrible thing. But the Mullet Show jumps in on the Twitch chat just as we're about to end the show. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Send us home, Max.
All right, everyone. This PlayStation conversation happens every Monday morning at 8 a.m. on podcast services, including Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and 9 a.m. on those YouTubes. But if you'd like to take part in future conversations with us, come and check out our socials. Facebook, coming soon. Discord, Instagram, and Twitter. All of those links can be found in the description below. If
you want to join the conversation as it happens, head over to twitch.tv/thepopcultures, where you can jump in the chat and become part of the show. Excuse me. We love the Twitch chat, by the way. I really enjoy having people chat along with us. And it makes us think of things in different ways. And like at the end of the show, like we just kind of, we'll go through and answer any questions that don't quite align with the topic or whatever. Because, I love having that conversation. And,
we love it so much that we change the schedule on a weekly basis.
Yeah, we love it so much that we never have a consistent schedule just to fuck with everyone. But when it's just because the downside of doing things, and we record on a weekend.
It's the downside of living. Sometimes life gets in the way.
Yeah. If we were just dead, it'd be easier, but there would also be no show. So that's a tough one. If you want to support the show, you can. Tell your friends, tell your family about this PlayStation Pod. And if you are listening on podcast services, be sure to give us a 5-star rating and a written review. If you are watching on that YouTube, be sure to like, subscribe, leave a comment below. I endeavor to answer every single comment. If you do have any questions and you can't make the Twitch show, throw them in the YouTube comments. I will 100% bring them up in the next show. Most definitely. Or hit us up on socials as well, as Max said. If you go, hey, I want you guys to talk... You know, like, we talk about whatever happens in that week. But one of the things we used to do was, like, have a topic of conversation. We'd be like, hey, this is the one thing we want to discuss this week. If any of you that do watch or enjoy the show, you go, hey, I want to hear your thoughts on X topic, let us know, and we'll chat about it. Like, this week was a kind of a quiet week. We still went for normal time, this guy. You know, if you want something you want us to discuss, let us know. But yeah, if you also want to support us financially, you can at patreon.com/thepopculturist, as well as our merchandise store, popculturist.com/shop, where you can buy shirts and other sort of shit with our logos on it. But until next week, I'm Ryan Betson.
I'm Max Cooper.
And that was For the Players.